By now, I'm sure you all heard that former President Donald Trump has won the 2024 presidential election. Whether you are celebrating and rejoicing or mourning and lamenting, let's see what Scripture says about this. So we looked a few weeks ago at Romans 13 and how to respond to government that's in charge. And also we looked at 1 Timothy chapter 2 about praying for those that are in charge, pray for leaders, pray for government authorities, whether or not we agree with them. When Paul was writing to Timothy, when Paul was writing to the Roman church, they were not the majority people. Christians were not at all the majority. So this was talking about how to respond to a godless authority who's in charge, someone who you didn't agree with even. Still, according to Romans 13, obey the government that's above you, respect the government that's above you. According to 1 Timothy chapter 2, pray for those that are in charge. So again, that was whether or not you agree with them, that's what Scripture says. As far as that, I'm going to add another layer of this today, how to respond to government. And again, this is whether you're rejoicing or whether you're mourning. 1 Corinthians chapter 13 addresses this. 1 Corinthians chapter 13, you're like, wait, the wedding chapter? The wedding verse? If I speak in tongues of men or of angels, but do not have love, I'm only a resounding gong or a clanging cymbal. If I have the gift of prophecy, I can fathom all mysteries and all knowledge. And if I have faith that can move mountains, but I don't have love, I'm nothing. If I give all that I possess to the poor and give over my body to hardship that I may boast, but I do not have love, I gain nothing. Love is patient. Love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. It is not proud. It does not dishonor others. It is not self-seeking. It is not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not rejoice in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. Love never fails. Where there are prophecies, they will cease. Where there are tongues, where there are languages, they will be stilled. Where there is knowledge, it will pass away. For we know in part, we prophesy in part. When completeness comes, what is in part disappears. When I was a child, I talked like a child, I thought like a child, I reasoned like a child. When I became a man, I put the ways of childhood behind me. For now, we see only a reflection as in a mirror. Then we shall see face to face. Now I know in part, then I shall know fully, even as I am fully known. And now these three remain, faith, hope, and love. But the greatest of these is love. Probably thinking, okay, Dr. Michael, well, how does that apply maybe to elections? We're talking about Donald Trump winning an election and things like that. Well, according to Scripture, so right now, America is very politically divided. Very, 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 very divided. It's been really sad to see the past 10 years, 15 years, how more and more and more pulled apart society is being. And so many times people are thinking about the other side as their enemies, or thinking about the other side, I have no problem with them, but they consider me their enemies. So therefore, I have to be on my guard against them. And there's a lot of tension. Well, in Scripture, Jesus himself talks about how to deal with enemies. Love them. He said, love your neighbor as yourself. Even if the neighbor, like the Good Samaritan parable, which I won't even read that right now, but the Good Samaritan parable about loving your neighbor as yourself. The Samaritan in that was a Samaritan. Samaritans were not considered as good people by the Jews. Samaritans were considered these terrible, fallen away from God, doing completely the wrong thing, kind of lawless thing. Like when the Samaritan came up to them, the people in the story would think that, like, listening to the story, would think like the Samaritan's coming over to maybe beat him a little more and look for more cash. And instead, he's the one that helped him. He's the one that helped him. He's the one that showed love and compassion. Throughout Scripture, throughout the New Testament, Jesus and his disciples talk about love your enemies, pray for those who persecute you, love your enemies. So taking the election and things like that in the context of this, if I speak in the tongues of men or angels but do not have love, I'm only a resounding gong or clanging cymbals. Yes, I'm speaking the words of God, I'm speaking the words of divine heavenly things. This is a fantastic thing for our country, or this is a terrible thing for our country. If we do this but don't have love, we're just being loud. How often do non-Christians these days in our culture think of Christians as just loud, complaining people? Are we contributing to that? Or are we loving them? If I have the gift of prophecy, that's knowing what God is going to say and knowing what God is going to do and speaking it into truth and existence or making his word known and things like that. If I have that gift, I can do it. I can understand all mysteries and all knowledge. I'm really smart and intuitive in this, and I have faith that I can move mountains. But I don't have love. According to verse 2, I am nothing. Nothing if I have this without love. If I give all that I possess to the poor and give over my body to any hardship that I boast, so that's like even physical ways of showing, not just with words, but physical ways of showing that I have compassion, physical ways of showing that I'm spiritual, but I don't have love, I gain nothing. I gave myself away, but I have nothing. Love is patient. Patient with your family member who voted a different way from you. Patient with those in the government that you don't agree with, whether they're the ones that won or whether they're the ones that lost. Patience with them. Love is patient. Love is kind. We're called to love those whom we disagree with. Love even our enemies. Love does not envy. If only we would win, man, I wish we had that spot. If you're in the side that lost, I wish we had that spot, Love does not envy. Our side won. This is fantastic victory. Well, according to the next part, love also, if your guy won, love does not boast. It is not proud. My person won, it's fantastic, and y'all are losers, to use his word. Or, those guys won. They have no compassion for others. They have no goodness about them. And according to verse 5, love does not dishonor others in ways that I just showed. It does not dishonor others. Okay, well now we're going to follow it. No, love is not self-seeking. And love is not easily angered. Not easily angered. Think of this political season. But according to this, love is not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. It keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil. Love rejoices with the truth. Love always protects. And that doesn't mean just protecting the sanctity of Scripture, protecting the things that I love, protecting the things that I want to happen, protecting the things that are important to me. This is talking about loving your neighbor even when they disagree politically with you, loving your enemy even when they disagree politically with you. Love always protects. That means protecting that person who you disagree with. Love always trusts. Love always hopes. Love always perseveres. Love never fails. So in light of this election, whether you're person won, whether you're person lost, whether you're rejoicing, whether you're mourning, either way, we're called to love our neighbor as ourselves. We're called to love our enemies and pray for them. And so I pray that you think about these things, read through. You listened to me talk about it just now, but maybe read through daily this week, 1 Corinthians 13, and pray, how is it that I'm showing this in my life? How is it that I'm living this out, even if not externally, but even mentally? How am I living out 1 Corinthians 13, especially in light of elections? Am I living out love for my neighbor? Am I living out love for my enemy? Whether the guy I voted for won or whether the lady I voted for didn't win. How am I living this out, this passage about love? So that's my prayer for you this week. Be thinking about 1 Corinthians 13, read through it daily, and pray, how is it that I'm living this out in my life, specifically regarding election results? And we'll see how much of a transformative this can be for each of us. Love is patient, love is kind, it does not envy, and it does not boast. It does not dishonor others, is not easily angered, keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. Love never fails. Great. May God bless you with a great week. Have a great day. God bless.